欢迎回到节目的现场。位在土耳其跟叙利亚边界的科巴尼，现在已经成为各界对抗伊斯兰国的重要象征。但是，就算叙利亚跟伊拉克的援兵陆续进入科巴尼，协助当地的库德族武装部队，但是还是无法消除伊斯兰国的威胁。请看我们的报道。
炮声隆隆，枪林弹雨，从9月到现在，似乎没有停歇的一刻。载满一车又一车来自伊拉克的战士，经由土耳其边界进入叙利亚的科巴尼，协助当地库德族人抵抗伊斯兰国。因为只靠美国空袭似乎还不够力。
The airstrikes have been very effective in degrading ISIL's capabilities and slowing the advance that they were making. Now what we need is ground troops.
美国总统奥巴马坦言，单靠空袭打击伊斯兰国成效有限。但就算科巴尼情况危急，土耳其依旧是隔岸观火，因为土耳其总统厄多刚跟叙利亚阿塞德政权对立，并坚持科巴尼的库德族部队就跟土耳其库德工人党 PKK 同样是恐怖组织。不过，土耳其袖手旁观，引发库德族跟美国不满。最后，厄多刚还是同意让150名伊拉克库德族战士借道前往科巴尼。
Bölgesel ve uluslararası barış ve güvenliğin korunması için Amerika Birleşik Devletleri ile işbirliğimizi derinleştirerek daha da etkin kılmaya kararlıyız.
11月底，美国副总统拜登前往土耳其伊斯坦堡，跟厄多刚达成共识，携手对抗伊斯兰国，同时支持叙利亚反对派推翻阿塞德政权。但叙利亚人权观察组织发布的最新报告指出，伊斯兰国仍不断在科巴尼发动自杀炸弹攻击 ，IS 也毫不客气在网络上发布无人机拍摄的爆炸地点画面。西方国家想要阻止伊斯兰国的猛攻，可能还得再加把劲。UDN TV 网方语编译。
我们继续来跟巴齐克教授来做访谈。Professor Baczyk, let me ask you about what's going on in IS right now. Just across the border between Turkey and Syria, there's a heavy fighting going on. But before November, it seems that Turkey had remained a relatively neutral stand, not wanting to offend or attack IS. People talk about that is probably because of at that time still you have like 49 hostages held by IS. But there's another deeper reason. Is it because that Turkey had long have a policy try to topple Syria regime? And if that is true, what kind of relations now, or the policy that the Turkey is having right now, in order to have a total confrontation with IS, that would weaken the capability of countering the Syrian regime. Would that be a complicated calculation?
Well, what's happening in Syria is a very complicated issue. It's very difficult to analyze from one perspective. The groups, the opposition groups, have no longer the priority of dealing with Assad regime. Their priority is to consolidate their rule. The Kurds have 3 cantons right now in northern Syria.
Right.
Each canton, Kobana is the famous one, but the Afrin and Jazira cantons, each canton has its own government, its own president, parliament, and all they share a common constitution.
So you are saying the opposition now is fighting against each other?
Each other, and also their priority is consolidate their position.
Okay.
I don't think even the Free Syrian Army's priority is dealing with Assad, because they are in a kind of different track of clash of each other's because of to consolidate their powers. So Turkey shouldn't be criticized on this ground because it is not clear how to intervene in the area. What to do? This is an area is a state collapse. There are many groups, and these are irregular militia. You cannot send troops. The only thing that U.S. can do is air attack, but it's a very limited success on ISIS because these are small groups fighters. Then maybe some logistical damage you can do, but not a very total serious damage that you can imagine. The second point is Turkey has done a lot of mistakes on Syria, and unfortunately, Turkey seems to be obsessed with the idea of Assad. So Turkey is right. Assad is authoritarian, is the source of problem. But Turkey believes that the removal of Assad is going to help, is going to be enough to solve Syrian problems. I disagree. Of course, Syria and Assad regime is part of the problem, but most of the things we have in northern Syria, they now have their own dynamics, not very much linked to Assad. So Turkey should first update its priority list on Syria.
Okay.
And the government is very much influenced by the Arab Spring. Now there is a reading of Arab Spring in Turkey. The politicians, mainly Mr. Erdogan, reads the Arab Spring in a way that it's a kind of challenge towards their model. They read what happened against Morsi and happening in Syria. Okay, this is a kind of global plan that is also targeting to us. So they don't want to be part of some international, plannings because they have some serious reservations about what has happened in Egypt. So Turkey's obsession with Assad regime, I think, creates some kind of problems. Turkey should update its understanding of Syria. But on the other hand, of course, there is a serious pressure on Erdogan regime in Turkey right now.
Right.
But Turkey, it's not clear even for Turkey what to do. I mean, Turkey cannot unilaterally act on the ground. On the other hand, we talk about Erdogan's very negative image globally.
Right.
This a little bit helps Erdogan. I mean, international community needs Turkey as a partner. It doesn't mean that because of that Turkey's prestige is increasing, but a potential criticism from West is degrading.
Right.
So it's not a very big bargain between Turkey and West. Normally, Western worlds, Western countries would have been more critical on Turkey
Right.
because serious democracy problems we have, and not only in democracy. I mean, Turkey and American foreign policies are quite different right now, and it's very difficult from now on to harmonize them as they were used to be 10 or 3 years ago. So Turkey's obsession with Syria, Turkey's as I said, has done several mistakes. So Turkey requires a kind of radical reform on Syria. So I'm not sure if Turkey can clarify a new agenda given these conditions. It is very even difficult for Turkey.
Let me ask two concrete things that is Turkey had quarreled with the United States. One is whether it should create a buffer zone along the border between Turkey and Syria, but mostly on the Syria side. The U.S. said you don't need that buffer zone, and it's very difficult to keep that buffer zone. You have to send in a lot of troops to maintain it. The second thing is the U.S. saying that the neighboring countries should send out their ground troops in order to really solve the IS issues. Is the U.S. expecting Turkey to send out ground troops?
Well, the first question is very clear. As you mentioned, it is very difficult to create buffer zones in the region for many reasons. For geography, I mean, it's not like Lebanon, it's not like Iraq. There are many groups. And it requires a big power. Many, Air Force, for example, many people. So creating a buffer zone in Iraq is not very realistic given these conditions. The second question, frankly speaking, we don't have any fact to argue that, to prove that. But based on the debates in the media, especially from American perspective, I think there's a pressure on Turkey to act even unilaterally against these unwanted developments in Syria. So I think the American expectation or some other country's expectation from Turkey is to act even unilaterally against ISIS. This could be because of two reasons. One is maybe the Western feeling is that Turkey has a kind of record what we have in Syria today because it caused the problem. This could be, but I feel that pressure. It's very much because many of the visits Ankara you mentioned are directly about ISIS, and when the visitors went back, when they speak to their domestic media, also we follow them, and what we got that dialogues that their main focus is Turkey's responsibility towards ISIS. But this is a very difficult problem because the Syrian problem transformed the Kurdish problem. Now the Kurdish group originally has its origin in Turkey, rules 3 cantons in neighboring country. So they become transnational, which means that they increase their leverage towards Turkey. So if and ISIS and Kurds are in a fight. So it's something like you have a fight close to your border, but fighting groups are both your enemies or rivals. So Turkey seems to be quite perplexed. The second point is there's an ongoing peace process with the Turkish Kurds That is why Turkish government cannot send all the troops to the area. It may create a counter-reaction from the Turkish Kurds. So Turkish government's autonomy is very, very limited given what we have on Syrian ground. So it is very much likely that Turkey is likely to face more problems from Syrian side.
Explain for us the Kobani incident that is happening. At first, Turkey refused the Kurd troops to pass their border and get in the fighting of Kobani. But later on, it was pressured by the U.S. that the Turkish government had agreed the troops can pass. But I don't quite understand why, from the beginning, Turkish to see that the other side of the Kurd is also a part of the terrorists. That is
yes.
Okay. Yeah. Could you explain
Well, let me
what's going
clarify.
on?
Turkey has PKK.
Right.
Its ideologue is Öcalan, who is in jail.
Right.
In northern Syria,
but they are in the process of political negotiation,
but
right?
which is going very bad. It's been 2 years. So far, no concrete reform.
Okay. Right.
And it is now no longer a peace process. It's a kind of ceasefire, because so far no disarmament. So far no reintegration. So we haven't seen any group of PKK who left the country. So it's very, very fragile. But Turkish process with the Kurds started before the Arab Spring.
Right.
It changed everything. As I said, now the same Kurdish groups in Turkey have their extension, PYD, the Kurdish party in Syria, but also following Öcalan. So the Kurds, the group that are in dialogue with Turkey, has suddenly become very strong because they are ruling 3 cantons in northern Syria. And when ISIS attacked Kobana, it opens huge opportunity space for Kurds. First, they became the romantic heroes defending Western world against ISIS. I read a lot of articles in Newsweek, in New York Post, so on and so forth. Second, a kind of political recognition. During the Kobana defense, there are some reports that even Americans had a contact with some YPG militia. YPG is the military wing of Kurds PYD, so part of again PKK. But more important is the Kurds realize that, okay, there is no actor to help us. So it is up to us to defend ourselves. So why we should give up arms in Turkey, maybe in the long term in Syria. So Kobana is one of the most critical events in Kurdish thinking, which is likely to affect even upcoming generations. So there were two types of pressure on Turkey. One, the US you mentioned. The second is PKK. The leadership of PKK publicly said that if Turkey fails to help Kurds, they will stop peace process. And this will be a deadly attack on government's prestige, because government has become a very much authoritarian image in the West. The only thing they have in their hand in the name of democratization is peace process. If they lose, they automatically become kind of very outdated. So most probably because of these two pressures, Turkey allow Iraqi Peshmerga to use Turkish territory to help actually PKK guys against ISIS. So it's a very it looks like a kind of Oriental story.
But what you just mentioned have 2 or 3 months ago, the exact thing happened in Iraq. I mean, all of a sudden, all the Kurds fighters become the hero in the Western media. Do you see that the Kurds in those 3 countries, even including Iran, may fight their way to statehood because of this changes happening over there?
Well, as a political scientist, theoretically speaking, I observe all early signs of a statehood, no doubt. But on the other hand, there are other dynamics. The first is intra-Kurdish dialogue. Right now, there are some threats that unite them, but there are many differences among them. For example, I don't think Mr. Barzani will give up the privilege of being the creator of modern Kurdistan. And second, Barzani is coming from religious, traditional background, but PKK is Marxist. So, first of all, I mean, this is one problem. The second is regional reaction. The idea of Kurdistan will be seen by a large group of Arabs as split of Iraq, which is an Arab state. So most probably Arabs or larger Arab community will be very hostile to this new state. So it's a big problem. The third point is international reaction. I mean, mainly the U.S. position on Kurdistan. Well, it is very difficult to understand what U.S. thinks on the idea of Kurdistan.
Do you think that U.S. attitude is more toward supporting to become a statehood by providing their weapons? And
so far, U.S. has done everything to help them consolidating their autonomy.
Okay.
But while saying this, I'm not sure what U.S. position would be when it comes to recognizing a Kurdish state. So I'm not sure about that. Even U.S. is not the only state in that area. I mean, very simply speaking, the creation of Kurdistan means partition of Syria.
Right.
But it's a matter of Iran. For Iran, Syria is a very serious issue. It's a matter of mainland China, for example. Russia, for example, even India. I mean, Father Assad was among few Muslim leaders who support India on Kashmir against Pakistan. Maybe they are not publicly speaking, but India is very much close to Assad regime. So we should realize one point. Syria is different. It is the piece of land over many things overlap. If you go back to 8th century, the first wars between Arab Empire and Roman Empire took place in Syria. So it has this historical, legacy of bringing different people together. So if you move on Syria, you can, for example, push Iran a little bit. An Iranian scholar told me we should defend Damascus as we defend Tehran. It's such a strategic for them. So theoretically, yes, we have some signs. The other point is an independent Kurdish state will depend on what? What is the economy? Mainly oil, but oil needs a door to the global market.
Right.
It's Mediterranean Sea, but that means that it's going to depend on Turkey.
Going through Turkey.
That's right. If Turkey closes that corridor, there is no alternative. So it is a very difficult question, but what I can say is Kurds are now in nation building process. But when it comes to statehood, I'm not sure. But in any case, because of Kurds, or thanks to Kurds, Middle East will be, or is likely to be more federal Middle East. Because from now on, I don't think it is realistic that we can reunite Syria as it used to be in the past. There's a civil war. People kill each other. So Syria must probably become more federal. Not a very successful federal model, but maybe just like Iraq. So Kurds, even in Turkey, are likely to enjoy privileges of autonomy in some way. But in the long term, there is no doubt the younger generation of Kurds target is independence, because Kurds, if you sociologically analyze, an average Kurd would say that we had the privilege of creating our state just after the First Great War. We were cheated. So it is the time that comes once a century. If we fail, we may fail forever. So this is the psychological expectation. But as I told in detail, there are so many dynamics working around this idea of statehood.
Before we finish this session, this last question I want to ask you is that what exactly the Turkish government relations with IS right now? I mean, there are talks about IS still selling their oil through Turkish pipeline, and they're saying that they still have secret connection between Turkish government with IS. Do you know anything about it?
No, I mean, Turkey has done a lot to stop this oil smuggling.
Okay.
I have seen the photos of Turkish military forces, cutting the pipes. But on the other hand, it's a long border, 910 kilometers. And on the other hand, after a kind of pause, for some reasons, Turkish politicians are much critical on IS right now.
Okay.
President Erdogan, Prime Minister Davutoğlu publicly declared that IS is terrorist from Turkish perspective. But on the other hand, the Turkish government should realize that there is a problem of signaling. I mean, there is a kind of thinking in many countries that Turkey's position on IS is somehow not satisfactory.
Right.
So Turkey should realize this. I think this is a missing point in Turkey. There is a gap. I mean, not in Taipei, which country, which city I go, I get the same questions. People are questioning why Turkey is not satisfactory, critical on IS. What is the story behind that? Are you supporting this kind of stuff? So I think Turkish government should realize that, which means Turkey fails to give satisfactory message to the global community that IS is a terrorist. But same could be said for the larger Muslim community, unfortunately. So I agree with your question. There is a gap of understanding, but very frankly speaking, Turkish government has several times repeated IS. But on the other hand, within the same party of the government, there are some people who interpret ISIS in a different way. But I don't think they have the right to present Turkish official position.
Okay, in the third section, we're going to talk a little bit about the coming election in 2015, the parliamentary election, and then the huge amount of refugee that is now living in Turkey. Would that create some problem in the future? We'll talk. 我们等一下回来第三段继续来谈这一次内战，叙利亚内战对于土耳其造成的影响，以及2015年土耳其的国会大选。